Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Adults, Health and Housing Cabinet Member meeting for Tuesday, the 17th of November 2020. On the call today, we have Dominic Monaghan, Lindsay Stevens and Stephen Mason from Democratic Services, Karen Brearley from Strategic Housing, and Councillor Shiraz Khan, who is the Shadow Cabinet Member for Housing, and myself, Councillor Roy Webb, Cabinet Member for Adults, Health and Housing. Do we have any apologies, Lindsay?
Just apologies from Ian Fulliger from Housing.
Thank you. There are no late items to be introduced by the Chair. And regarding declarations of interest, Councillor Khan?
No.
Okay, and nothing from myself. So we move on to item 4, which is the acquisition of a 2-bedroom house in Abbey Ward. Karen.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. This report proposes the acquisition of a 2-bedroom house in the Abbey Ward. We've actually negotiated a purchase price of $116,000. It was actually on the market for offers in excess of $115,000. Our valuation came in at $114,000 to $118,000. So that price is actually in line with our valuation. It is proposed to purchase the property with the use of right to buy receipts and HRA. Although if our bid is successful for NSAP grant, we do propose to substitute the right to buy receipts for NSAP grant. Apologies, this is not an NSAP property.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself there. This would be purchased using HRA and right to buy receipts at 30%, and it would go into a general needs stock within the city. There is need for this type of property of this size and in this location as affordable housing. We would actually undertake some works to the property to bring it to our lettable standard. So we would overhaul the electrical installation, including heat and smoke detectors and a consumer unit, a new internal door. We would overhaul the external doors and windows, including handles, hinges and restrictors. There are integrated appliances, so we have a contingency to alter the kitchen if those appliances failed testing, and we also have a contingency for radiators and pipe work. The cost of that work is not expected to exceed £5,257. That would make a total purchase of just over $125,000, including works, SDLT and fees. The right to buy receipts would be applied, as I say, at 30%, and an appraisal indicates that we would produce an operational surplus from year 4 with a break even in year 28. So it is in line with our business plan. The works that we undertake would actually increase the property from an EPC rating of D, and it would go to a target of a EPC of C. So our proposal is for this property to be purchased and for the works to be undertaken.
Thank you very much, Karen. I don't see any issues with this in the report, and the payback meets our requirements. So unless there are any comments, in that case, I will move recommendations 2.1 to 2.3, and we can proceed with purchase of this property. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move on to item 5, which is the acquisition of 2 2-bedroom houses in Abbey Ward. And before we get started, I would like some clarification, because as two properties, I am asking for clarification as to whether it exceeds my financial limit as cabinet member.
Before this report has been brought to you, Councillor Webb, I did actually check it with Democratic Services, and although this is a linked purchase because we are buying two properties from the same vendor, because the actual overall value still comes in below your approval threshold, they did actually confirm that we could undertake the approval process with a formal cabinet members meeting.
Thank you very much indeed. And Lindsay, if you could note that in the minutes, please.
Yes, I've noted it. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, over to you, Karen.
Okay, thank you. So this report proposes the purchase of two bedroom houses in Abbey Ward, and we have a negotiated total purchase price of £220,000. That is for both properties. They are actually adjacent to each other. The actual valuation was up to a purchase price of £232,000. So that does demonstrate value for money. They were actually marketed for a single sale at £240,000. So we do have a good value there. We propose to purchase the properties using right to buy receipts at 30% and the HRA capital programme. And the properties would be incorporated within the council's affordable housing stock managed by Derby Homes. We have checked and we do have need for this type of property of this size within this area. These are relatively new properties. They were only built circa 2007. And they are cavity brick walls with pitched timber frame roof covered with concrete tiles. We would actually undertake some works to the property or to both of the properties. Work we do to one actually impacts on the work required to the other, with them being adjacent to each other. So the external works actually apply to both. So we would overhaul the bathroom, overhaul the windows, the handles, hinges, restrictors and trickle vents. We would actually overhaul the gas installation, and again we've just included a contingency for replacement boiler if required. We would overhaul the electrical installation and also upgrade the heat and smoke detectors. We would also overhaul the kitchen with a contingency for replacement kitchen, and we would overhaul the rear elevation including fences, gate and path. This work is not expected to exceed £14,641. Once we take into account stamp duty and fees, we come out with a total purchase price of £241,935. When we apply right to buy receipts at 30%, our appraisal indicates that we will produce an operational surplus from year 2 with a break even in year 27, which is within our business plan. These properties actually are already at an EPC rating of C, which is what we target all of our affordable stock to be. So we request that the recommendations 2.1 to 2.3 are approved and proceed to purchase these two properties.
Thank you, Karen. Again, I don't see any issues in the report with these properties. They already meet our EPC rating. Unless there are any objections. Right, in that case, I will move then recommendations 2.1 to 2.3 and allow these properties to be purchased and go into our general needs accommodation. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
The next item that we move on to is the acquisition of a 2-bedroom apartment in Mackworth Ward, and this is possibly going to be a next steps property. So over to you, Karen, please.
Thank you. So this report proposes the purchase of a 2-bedroom apartment in the Mackworth Ward. We have a negotiated purchase price of £92,000, which is actually in line with our valuation range of 90 to 94. The property was actually marketed at 94,950, so it does demonstrate value for money. We would propose that the property is purchased utilising HRA capital and a right to buy receipts at 30%, although if our NSAP grant application is successful, we do propose that we would substitute the right to buy receipts for NSAP grant, because we cannot use both types of funding for a property. The property would actually need to have some works undertaken to it, and that would include, but not limited to, a new heating system, a rewire, a new bathroom and kitchen, new front doors to meet current fire safety standards, and we would undertake test and inspection to the property. The costs are not expected to exceed £19,433. Once we take into account stamp duty and fees, that brings a total purchase price of £114,485. With the right to buy receipts, that actually produces an operational surplus from year 32 with a break even in year 40. If we did actually substitute the right to buy receipts with NSAP grant, that is applied at 50%, so that would actually reduce our operational surplus and break even timescales down. We do actually propose the inclusion of an additional clause or an additional recommendation within this actual report, and I'm sorry, apologies, I'm just going to call it up. So we also propose that, subject to the approval of the NSAP bid detailed at 4.5 and 4.6 of the report, to agree to approve the property for the NSAP programme in accordance with item 2.5 of the MHCLG Next Steps Accommodation Programme Grant Application 2020-21 report, which was approved at the urgent leader of the Council Cabinet member meeting held on the 18th of August 2020.
Thank you, Karen. This is a second floor property, and just a question for my information: if we're looking at a new bathroom, would that be a level access, or is it not necessary for a second floor property?
It's not deemed necessary for a second floor property, so it would be a new bathroom, but it would have a shower over the bath. Okay,
thank you very much. Are there any further comments? In that case, can I move recommendations 2.1 and through to 2.4, the additional recommendation, and we can continue with the purchase of this property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we move on to acquisition of a 2-bedroom apartment in Abbey Ward, and again this is possibly a Next Steps property.
Yes. So this report proposes the acquisition of a 2-bedroom apartment in the Abbey Ward. We have a negotiated purchase price of £90,000, which is in line with our valuation range of 86 to 90,000. The property was actually being marketed for offers above 90,000, so it does demonstrate value for money. We would propose to purchase the property utilising HRA capital and right to buy receipts applied at 30%, although if our NSAP grant application is successful, we would propose to substitute the right to buy receipts for NSAP grant, which would be applied at 50%. The property will form part of the Council's affordable housing stock. We would also propose that some works were undertaken to the property, and they would include, but not limited to, removing and replacing the old storage heaters, general repairs to the property, an overhaul of the kitchen, a new front door to meet current fire safety standards, replacement of the internal glazed doors as they do not have safety glass in them, and we would undertake tests and inspection of the property. These costs are not expected to exceed £16,504. Once we take into account stamp duty and fees, that gives a total purchase of £109,496, and utilising right to buy receipts at 30%, we produce an operational surplus from year 30 with a break even in year 39. So that does actually meet with our business plan. If we actually apply NSAP grant at 50%, then we do actually reduce our break even point down. So this one has actually got an EPC rating of E, and the works we would undertake would improve this to our target of C. Again, we would propose that we include an additional recommendation that, subject to the approval of the NSAP bid detailed at 4.5 and 4.6 of the report, to agree to approve the property for the NSAP programme in accordance with item 2.5 of the MHCLG Next Step Accommodation Programme Grant Application 2020-21 report, which was approved at the urgent leader of the Council Cabinet member meeting held on the 18th of August 2020.
Thank you, Karen. Again, for my information, removal and replacement of storage heaters, if we're going to raise the EPC from E to C, would this be some form of electrical heating, or would we be installing something else?
It is going to be a modern electrical heating system because there is no gas into the property. But even the old storage heaters are so inefficient that by actually putting in a new modern electric heating system, it does actually take us up that step up on the EPC. Okay,
thank you very much. In that case, are there any further comments? Can I then move to recommendations 2.1 to 2.4 and recommend that we continue with the purchase of this property and be subject to the recommendation in 2.4 if the next steps accommodation bid is successful? Thank you very much indeed. That concludes the meeting. Thank you.